Nice to have you here, Nightlings. This is episode 34 of the Horror Headquarters, and I am beyond excited for you guys to hear what I have planned for today. Now, as you may well know, a holiday that just passed was April Fool's, and a lot of people talk about how it's all about jokes and making people scared of something when they're not, and just basically teasing people and like making things up. But there's actually a very rich history that I was told about when I was in Salem. And I'm going to get into that story today. And it's a very interesting one if you guys want to learn a little bit about the possible origins of April Fool's Day, because if you look it up, historians have no idea where it started. Well, here's one possible answer to that. So get ready, sit back, and enjoy. I just have to start by saying I miss Salem so much and I literally want to go back. As much as it was terrifying, I enjoyed every second of it. Now, this happened when I was inside one of the herbal stores where they're like selling all these herbs for like witchcraft and just making incense and all this kind of stuff, a lot of books. And I was asking the lady at the front counter, because I know it gets really busy around Halloween time. I asked her, "Do you have any other recommendations of when to come?" And she said, "October really is our busiest. Like, it's cool, but it's gonna be busy." But she said, "But I can tell you that you can come in April and you will have a really good time." And I looked at her, I said, "Why April?" I said, "That's such a weird date." And she said, "You know the holiday April Fools?" I said, "Yeah." I'm like, where everyone makes fun of each other and pranks each other. She's like, "There's actually a history here in Salem that has been erased from the history books and from all online sites." I'm like, "Oh, are you serious?" Now, obviously, they could be just making that up, obviously, like as an April Fool joke, but she actually ended up getting very, very much into the story, and she like recommended all these different places to visit when I was in Salem that like are significant, especially around April Fool's Day. But she told me a really crazy story, and she's like, "If you have time, I can walk you through it." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love to learn about this." And she said, "All right, you can come sit over here." And like there was like this little sitting area surrounded by like all these leaves, and she's just like, "So when I first started working here, there was a bunch of people that would come in during April Fools and like ask for a specific type of ingredient." And she's like, "I would give it to them, and they would always say, 'Okay, how do I use it for this?'" And she said they were using this very, very elaborative word that she had no idea what it meant. So then she asked her manager and everything, and then her manager said to kick them out. And she said, "Why?" And she's like, "Just kick them out. They're not allowed to talk about that kind of stuff." She ended up kicking them out, and these people, she stated, put a hex on her as a result. And she literally walked me through everything that happened. She said, the minute she kicked them out, one of the vases in the building, like in the store, broke and shattered, and it was filled, which she said was rosemary and just dirt. She's like, it was filled with minerals and rosemary. And she said it broke, and she was cleaning it up, and as she was cleaning it up, there was a bunch of cockroaches inside the vase that started crawling out. And she said she freaked out, and she said she went to her manager, called the day off, and she said how terrified she is of cockroaches. That's why she called off. Now, then it gets interesting. She went out to her car would not start. So then she froze. She tried writing down what like they were saying. She's like, "I tried remembering what they were saying, like they wanted to know how to use this for this like specific thing." She said it was a very exquisite word that she had never heard of, but obviously her manager knew about it. So she ended up going back into the store, asking her manager what that meant, and he stated what it was. Now, I wrote down what she said because I cannot pronounce this for my life. Now, it's called Draxycolinfurus. It's spelled Draxycolinfrs. And she said that what this spell does is it basically curses people on this day that engage with April Fools as a result, because a lot of people, she said, that engage in this holiday, they believe it's an insult on witches because they're trying to pull pranks on people without them knowing it's a prank. So like they look at it as making fun of their power and making fun of what they can do. So she said these people that ended up coming into the store and doing this and wanting to learn how to do a specific spell, they wanted to put a curse on someone, and that's what they said is they said that's against witch protocol. Like, I mean, that's what they said, witch protocol, but like it's not aligned with the beliefs that they have, and obviously it isn't, because I actually learned about how people that celebrate like the pagan religion and that kind of stuff, how they work, and it's nothing like the stuff you see online or anything. Like, it's a lot more low key, and people just believe in different things. But she said that there are many malevolent witches or people that like to play around with witchcraft that look at forbidden books to try certain spells, and that's what one of them is called. So basically, like, they take a picture of someone, they put it in a circle, and they use a rose and start picking it apart, like petal by petal, and then they take the thorns and they inject all the petals like with it. Now, hearing this story, I honestly like started to giggle because I thought she was playing with me this whole time. She's like, "No, I'm serious." And then she was like, "I'm not supposed to tell you this, but there's a lot of people on April 1st that come here to do spells that get rid of these curses that people try to inflict on them, especially on April Fool's Day, like this spell to like basically make someone torture or to torture someone through a distance, like through different ways." And she said a lot of times, like, unfortunately, people fall victim to this if they've done something bad and they mess with the wrong person. There's these witches that like are completely against like what, like I said, pagans stand for, and they do these like incantations and curses and jinxes on all these people that have done them wrong in the past, and they continue to do it. It's like an annual thing, and that's why she said like on April 1st, or like in the month of April in general, we don't sell a lot of like flower or plants or anything to do with roses, because we know that people will misuse them if they're given the opportunity. So she said when that person, or when those group of people came in and they were like didn't they like said, "Oh, how to use this for this," which is the Draxical, I can't even pronounce it, Draxi something, hold on, I have to double check. Anyway, she said people that came in and were so discreet with this, and they said what they were going to use it for, like she said that takes a lot of bravery, and like her manager, that's why her manager like told her like kick them out immediately, don't let them come in. And she was telling me after they left and jinxed her, like her manager walked out and like started saging the entire like room, and like while saying like something, and she didn't know what was happening, and she said he still won't say why he did that. Like, he obviously explained like what kind of spell they're trying to do, but I'm assuming he got like very bad vibes because like she told me like as soon as she like went to confront her manager and everything, like he was walking out the same way, and like he was very wide-eyed, and he told her that like he felt really bad energy when they walked in. So I mean, it came to fruition, I guess. I feel really bad for her because she said as a result that the next day I ended up losing two family relatives, and I like went to a funeral, and like just everything went wrong. People started getting in arguments at the funeral. There were just really bad car accidents on the way there. There was people's flights getting delayed. And she said this lasted about 2 weeks until like her life went back to quote unquote normal. And she said ever since, if someone comes in and I feel bad energy, or like they want to use like rose petals, I'll ask them what they're using it for, just to like ensure that nothing bad is going to happen to her again, because she said she's been scarred in a way by it, and every April Fool's she doesn't even go to work anymore because she's afraid people are going to come in and hex her again, just like they did last time. So hearing the story, I like tried looking it up online, searching and all this kind of stuff. Didn't find a single thing, like nothing at all. I found some traces back to pagan history. Hopefully I'm saying that right. I have like a list right now. And they discuss how there are roots that lead back to like the 1700s, and especially like during the witch trials that involve April Fool's Day, and how it was perceived back then by these people. Like, people would get in trouble if they like engaged with April Fools, like not in like a witch way, but if they just tried like fooling people at all during that time. Now, as I've said, there are historians that still state that there is no direct link to anything in the past where like April Fools originated. Obviously today it's like a big social media thing. People make jokes about like casting things, music, work related stuff, school related stuff, all that kind of stuff. But I do have to say, this story really scared the shit out of me. And to be honest, every time I look at a rose, I think of like, because you look at the beauty of it, but there are really sinister people out there that will like do these horrible things to you. And before I left and everything, I'm like, so should I come in April Fools? And she started laughing and she's like, no one's gonna do that. She's like, there's gonna be a lot of protective energy because the good witch. She's like, she said good witches. She's like, I have to say that because I can't say bad witches because people insinuate that when I say witches, it's bad. But people that like are pagan and like celebrate this kind of stuff, they put like this aura around Salem in general to like protect anyone from any bad juju that might take place that day. So she said, if you come here, you're going to be protected and you're going to have a good time. And there's not going to really be people discussing anything about April Fools and like the holiday. But she said there might be a couple people that talk about the history, as I've just explained to you, like these curses that people try to do on April Fool's Day to get back at people that did them wrong in the past. Now, again, everything this person was saying could be utter bullshit, but I 100% like believe it because I didn't have any bad feelings the whole time she was explaining the story. I was really interested in it. It didn't feel like she was lying at all, and I just got overall good energy because, like I said in previous episodes, I can read people very well. I can read their energies, like what they're trying to express onto me, like if they're a good person or a bad person. And I just had overall really good vibes, very earthy vibes from this person, and I could tell they weren't lying. So I was actually considering going to Salem around April Fools and just seeing how the town would be, because obviously I'm going to be protected as they've said. And they also stated, like she told me, she's like, if you come here also like to this shop specifically, we give out these little baskets. It's like a woven basket, and she said it has rosemary in it. And she said this links back to the story of the vase falling because it had rosemary in it. And she said the reason it fell is because those people, basically rosemary is a very healing herb and it's like used for protecting yourself from other people and just getting rid of bad juju. So she said that's the reason why that one fell, like the vase fell off of the shelf, because as soon as those people left, like it was that powerful, like they were that evil that they knocked out, like I guess the good in the rosemary. So it just like made me like get like chills all around my body. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. She's like, yeah, so we give you like these little things and you can take them around with you wherever you want and you'll be even more protected. So, I mean, she like linked the, what they do like around April back to the vase falling with the rosemary. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe she's not lying. And obviously, like she said, like the cockroaches that came out of the vase too. There's just a lot of crazy stories that I've had from Salem specifically, and I can't wait to continue talking about them. But honestly, when April Fools did come around, I like protected myself as much as possible. I mentioned an aura around me, just trying to put off any bad energy that would enter my way. And another reason why, like, talk about this episode actually just came up as I'm like discussing this is because a couple days ago I had this really really bad experience with someone. Like how I said, I can read people, and it's honestly an experience that I am struggling to forget. Now, I was at my school when this happened, and I've bumped into this person before, but I've never felt the energy that I did when they were walking up to me. So they walked up to me and they gave me a handshake. As soon as we connected hands with each other, I felt immediately like darkness, like blank darkness, evil, a weight that like filled my whole body, and it was like I was electrocuted from my tip of my hair all the way down to my feet. And I froze and like I let go of my hand really quick, and he was like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Oh my god." I'm like, "Nothing." I'm like, "I have to go. Sorry, I have to go." And I like just ran away from this person. Like instinctively, I felt such bad energy from this person. and it felt as if there was a hex on my hand for like a good 2 hours. And I like didn't have time to like do any like special like spells or anything like that to like get rid of it. But I just kept like reciting like prayers to like get rid of this weight. The best way I can explain it is it felt like I was holding a 10-pound weight in my hand, and it just kept continuously getting heavier, and that weight was spreading throughout my whole body. Now, I personally think it was a hex or like some kind of like bad vibes from someone, but I have never experienced anything like that. Now, this person could be a witch, they couldn't be a witch, I don't know, but one thing's for sure, if I end up bumping into this person again, I am not going to engage with this person because it was bad. Like, you just feel emptiness, but that emptiness was filled with like darkness and shadows and just so much evil. And I'm like, whoa. And it was just very, very off-putting. So when she told me, like, when going back to the story from Salem, when she told me like when these people left and they put a hex on her and everything, and all the shit happened to her, it made me recall this thing I just had a couple days ago, hence why I'm now talking about this episode. So I mean, they're kind of differentiating stories, but I do think that the story that she told me in Salem is true. Regardless, I can still read how people are, like the energy they project and carry around wherever they go. But just overall, I don't think I'm gonna get a story like that again, whether in Salem or anywhere else, because at the end, when I was walking away, she's like, also don't tell anyone I told you this because it's very bad luck to like also discuss it. But she's like, well, don't worry, I have Rosemary right next to me. She's like, that's what I was holding the whole time. She's like, that's why you saw my head scrunching, and that's why I told you you can meet me at the table, and I'll be right there. She grabbed Rosemary and she like was crushing it as she was telling me the story, and then she sprinkled my hands with rosemary. So, I mean, nothing happened, thank God, when she told me this, but it just goes to show that there's so much that history won't tell you, that the internet won't tell you. Just like how they say Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean in 1492. See, I don't even know the freaking day anymore, and it's all BS. It's all made up. It's not true. It isn't. But like they hide out all these actual true stories from people, and I'm actually happy that they hide this April Fool's one out and you can't find it online. Like, if it's actually true, I'm happy people don't know about it, because if it gets in the hands of the wrong people, it can definitely spread a lot, and people that don't know what they're doing will try engaging in it, and we don't want that, do we? And that basically sums up this episode of the Horror Headquarters. I hope you guys learned something from this episode. I hope you guys are walking away with some learning experience about how April Fool's is perceived in the witch world, and stories they won't talk about. Like she said, like either people will not talk about it or they'll completely ignore you and change the subject. And I'm like lucky that she ended up telling me the story. Like I said, regardless if it's true or not, it just made me think, and I honestly think it is true. But doing a lot of research, you can even find a lot online, like by looking up April Fool's Day and pagan history. You can see some connections with it, even though like not as malevolent as she explained it to me. You'll see some stuff, and then you'll realize that there's a bunch of gaps and loopholes that you're like, wait, how did this happen? I'm like, go to Salem, you might get lucky enough to be told a story. Now, I don't want anyone out there to try and hex someone. That's exactly why I'm not doing this, is because of how dangerous it can be and the results of it. But I'm just gonna say be safe. I mean, I hope you learned something. Again, rosemary is a very, very powerful excuse me. See, I can't speak. So if you ever feel, she's like told me, like if you ever feel like you need protection, make some rosemary tea, make something with rosemary in it, and it will protect you from any bad vibes that people project onto you. Like around the world. I said around the world, year long, annually. Oh my God. It's Ramadan, guys. I'm sorry. I'm fasting right now, and I don't know. But everything I just said, like, was true. Like, this all did happen, and I'm hoping when I go back and I bump into her, I can tell her I'm like, I mentioned you on my podcast, but I didn't mention your name. But this is one of the stories that I've been keeping to myself for quite some time, and there's so many more. You guys have no idea all the different experiences I had in Salem, hence why I'm like excited to continue talking about them. And this is one I thought I wanted to bring up now, and I'm happy I did because it's definitely around April Fool's time too, and just the of April in general, it just feels like a very weird month to me as a result. But that's the episode. I really appreciate your guys' support. If you guys are listening for the very first time and you got all the way to the end, please, please, please hit that follow button and rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find the rating for Spotify on the About tab under our podcast. It's not under an episode. It's when you click on the main podcast page, you'll see a thing that says About, and you can rate us and see what this podcast is all about, like all the things that it entails of. But if you guys are returning, thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you guys for tuning in. And guys, become part of the Nightlinks family. Like, follow us on Instagram at the Horror Headquarters, on Twitter at the Horror HQ, on TikTok at the Horror Headquarters, on Facebook. We have a Facebook page now, and we're on YouTube because as of today, Google Podcast is no longer available. So Google Podcast is gone. Like, it's never coming back. So I'm hoping people that used to be subscribed on Google Podcasts are now listening on a different platform. It did transfer over to YouTube, hence why a lot of my episodes, or all of my episodes, are on YouTube now. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. I am so blessed, so grateful for this podcast, for everyone listening, and I can't wait to start selling these t-shirts that are just waiting for people to use, and I'm just so excited. So get ready, you guys, and until next time, tread very lightly and pray for forgiveness. April Fool's has passed, but midnight hour is still approaching.